Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. When we came to the central chapters, the two aspects, the Absolute or Brahman and the world, these two were brought so close, and also one homogeneous principle was seen operating in both. Thus, unity was established. But after the middle chapter, as we are now proceeding to the 18th chapter, some asymmetry is coming, and it increases as we go from one chapter to the other. Especially from the 12th chapter, when we came to the 13th chapter, between the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna, differences were brought within the scheme of the Kshetra, and even then the self identified with Kshetrajna as the one Kshetrajna who is in all is considered free of all the taints of such differences at the physical and empirical level or the transactional level. But now, when we become a little more conversant with the operation of the gunas, there is cause for alarm. Because the Kshetraja, it was considered to be universal and unaffected like Akasha in all the individual jivas, here seem to become affected. And there emerges what may be called the uniqueness of the individual. And thus we get into types. And that brings a host of problems which are sociologic, problems which look us squarely in our face in matters of justice, social justice. The equality of man here becomes questioned. And what causes that inequality between man and man, between one person and another person, Is it purely socio-economic or something more psychological than socio-economic? That we have to decide. A number of thinkers like Marx and Proudhon and others, uh, Auguste Comte and others, who have been looking for the difference in the wrong distribution of wealth or the um, equality of opportunities, etc. They stand on one side, and others who have gone a little more deeply into the type of a person who makes himself uh, a pushing man, aggressive, or one who has the capacity to win the hearts of others, or one who can see the value system itself different so that he is not one of the competitors in the socio-economic world, because he sees higher values for which a rich man is not a contestant. Thus the field is a little complex. And is Gita helpful there or not? That is not an easily answered question. In the invocation, when we spoke of Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara on one side and Parabrahman on the other side, previously these two could be easily equated in the light of chapters like 7, 8, 9, 10. And now here, Brahma becomes more precisely the principle of birth. And Vishnu means how exactly you live here. And Maheshwara is the kind of determination that can come to this life, and also the eschatologic aspect of it, how it proceeds thereafter. So there is a prenatal story and a post-mortem story to be looked into. And it's here the triple play of three gunas, which are said to belong to Prakriti, is brought to play a big role in human life. So as we proceed, we will notice the characteristics of the three gunas. And is the guna purely generated by an individual psyche, or is it a situation precipitated by a social context? That's worth looking into. If you are caught in a situation where a number of people are competing for the same opportunity, and you have to elbow your way and you have to show your stamina and use every bit of your weight to get through, you need um, uh, proper education, proper training, and a number of things. Is it all coming from within, or some of these are acquired? So the hereditary aspect and the acquired aspect. These are also relevant in Western studies, especially genetics. But the genetic that we speak of here in the Gita is not of uh, the Western genetics. We are speaking of a vertical continuation of a life and its propensities, and not the constitution of you which have come from your parents, or the several parental bodies which make the family tree. It's rather directly connected with the possibility of your being previously in a body, and you had a value vision and also a certain kind of pursuit, and that decides the psyche. Now Jung says that both these are unproven cases. You do not know the exact origin of the psyche, you do not know the exact origin of the body also. If you think that when you come to physiology you are on safer grounds, that is not so. It is as mysterious, and you can be as ignorant of it as you are ignorant of the psyche also. So simply because you see the hands and legs, you cannot come to a conclusion, now you know things better. No? Jung speaks of um, the type, which is, I think, relevant in this chapter. He speaks of the thinking type and the feeling type. He speaks of the sensational type and the intuitional type. And then he considers that how much, say this question, how much it is related to a person's physiological constitution. And he does not say that we can we cannot say for sure that there is no relationship between the constitution, the physiological constitution, and the psychological behavior. But to causally relate one to the other, to give primacy to the physiological constitution, and say that causes the psychic difference, there he disagrees. But the behaviorists, they like to say how the not the psychochemistry, the biochemistry of the body, the genetic history of the nervous system, and the acquisition of knowledge through education, that means through several conditioning, that decides a person's character. This, of course, is not tenable. And it is here that we are in a kind of muddy water. So this is what I want to keep you in mind before we enter into the chapter. It's not wrong. It looks very simple here. The chapter is given that if you understand what Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, then you can easily get out of the muddle of this life and get into something which is very easy, moksha, one with the Lord. I don't think that oversimplification is possible. परं भूयः प्रवक्ष्यामि ज्ञानानां ज्ञानमुत्तमं यज्ञात्वा मुनयः सर्वे परं सिद्धिमिदो गदाः. I shall again declare the superior wisdom, the best of all wisdom, by knowing which all sage recluses, munis, have passed to transcendental perfection from here. Idam jnanamupashritya mama sadharmyamagadaha sarge vinobhajayante pralayena vyadanti cha. Having resorted to this wisdom and having attained to conformity in express features pertaining to me, they are neither born at creation, nor are they adversely affected at dissolution. Here, this knowledge is given as an assurance for having not a rebirth. One is when you die, dying in pain and sorrow and frustration, where you have to continue that path, and there's an assurance about that. No, if you have this knowledge, then you become identical with the unity knowledge, identical with the absolute. So it is not death, but immortality. It's a merger into the immortal state, or rather into the mortal state. And if that is happening, then there is no return. Mamayo nirmahad brahma tasmin garbham dadhamyaham sambhavaha sarvabhutanam tado bhavati bharata. My womb is great Brahma, supreme deity. In that I place the germ, then sees the birth of all beings, O Bharata. This has a reference to many anecdotes in Upanishads, such as the Brihadaranyaka, the Chandogya, the Aitareya. It's a number of Upanishads in which there is the creation myth, where we have the first being which is neither male nor female, or which can be considered as the male and female together. And if that is the one without a second, and from which everything originated, then that should be considered as the first cause. And in that first cause, the father and mother are not separate, and he says here, I am that father and I am that mother. So if that is the first cause, then all beings will have come from that first cause. And that first cause, if by definition you understand as Satchidananda, all share existence alike and all share intelligence alike, all share Ananda alike. But our Lord here is We are in an existential, non-existential world. There is Sat and Asat. And there is Chit and Achit. There is Sukha and Dukkha. So there is a world of duality. And how did that happen? At what stage that got in? And how that can be corrected? If it is possible to be corrected. It should be possible because we all have the same origin. And if in the precipitation of uh, the jiva into a number of individual cases, and each one in its course was becoming more and more different than the rest, then there should be some cause for it. And if you find out the cause of a disease, you can correct that. So if the individual variation is such that one type is inferior to another type, then at least we should know what breeds the better type, how that can be rectified. We are entering into that. सर्वयोनिषु कौन्तेय मूर्तयः सम्भजन्ति याः तासां ब्रह्म महद्योनिः अहं बीजप्रदः पिता. Whatever tangible forms are produced in all the womb, O son of Kundi Arjuna, great Brahma, supreme deity, is their common womb, and I am the seed bestowing father. Here Andy has given the picture of the pollination of a flower by a moth or a butterfly. And in it there is the pollen dust, which is a seed, and it has an ovary into which the seed goes, and then there is the continuation of that species. There's a particular kind of moth called the yucca moth, and also a flower called the yucca flower. And the yucca flower opens midnight, and it does not remain open for a long time. The yucca moth sleeps all day, and it wakes up only in midnight. And then it goes to that particular flower, and it does more than one job of simply sucking the honey of it or taking the pollen of it. It sits there and makes a small pellet of the pollen dust. And on that pollen dust it also places one egg, its egg. And it burrows into the ovary and deposits the pollen and its egg into that and seals it. And afterwards, when that plant bears fruit, in the fruit both the seeds of the plant and the larvae of the moth together grow. So one part of the fruit is for the food of the larvae of the moth, and the other part of the ovary is for the maturation of the seeds of the plant. And together it gives birth, so to say, both the species, the plant as well as the moth, thus the continuation of the species. And that's a good enough example how so many ingenious ways are made by nature for the propagation of species. And if we collectively take the possibility of the continuation of life, or even the development of the whole universe, then you can see these two principles, a plus and a minus, the positive and a negative, coming together, which is perpetuating both the universe and also life, at least in some part of the universe. And so it is quite justifiable in saying that my womb is great Brahma, supreme deity. In that I place the germ, thence is the birth of all beings, O Bharata. Sattvam rajastamairi gunaha prakriti sambhavaha nibadhnandi mahabaho dehe dehinamauvyam. The pure clear sattva, the affective active rajas, and the inner dark tamas, these nature necessity born modalities gunas bind. O mighty armed Arjuna, the imperishable embodied one. Kind of a scheme is evolved of three principles, one pure and clear, and the other is colored, and then opaque. And then the attributes of these three gunas are given, the modalities are given. Where there is a predominance of sattva, you develop peaceful, wise, spiritual quality. Where there is rajas, there is passion and activity, and where there is tamas, there is sluggishness and moha. Such kind of ideas are given as a scheme here, and this is the base for what I mentioned as an Indian version of type psychology. Tatra sattvam narmalatvat prakashagamanāmayam sukha sangena badhnādi jnana sangena janakha. Of these, the pure clear modality sattva, from its purity causing brightness and expressing normal well-being, binds the pleasure conditioning and by knowledge conditioning, O sinless one. So this is on the side of Prakriti, and we have seen in an early chapter of a lower aspect of Prakriti, which is constituted of the five elements: mind, intellect, and ego. And these gunas are said to be affecting the physical system, plus mind, intellect, and ego. I do not know, Professor Dr. Vaswada may be able to tell us more about it. If Western psychology has ever made a clear distinction between the psyche and the self. There's many things which we call psyche which in the West we relate to the psyche like the mind, the intelligence, and the ego sense are not considered as belonging to the self. The self is free of all these things. And as such, they are even jada. They belong to the world of jada. And only in the case of ahankara, the aham tattva, the self or pure consciousness lends its light to be reflected in the sukshma tanmatras or the non-quintuplicated tanmatras, which constitute the base for the mind and the intellect. And thus, the ego, which has its intelligence and capacity to question, to observe, etc., that is a chaya purusha. It is a shadow self, not the self. And it is to this shadow self we say that these gunas belong. Is it only to that self? No. That is not made very distinct here, because prakriti, this is the lower prakriti or apara prakriti. There is a para prakriti also. And what is that? That is that life-giving, that consciousness mirroring element. So from a source there comes the light and the life. And that is considered as the controlling principle of all living beings. So do the three gunas belong only to the lower prakriti, or does it belong also to higher prakriti? Prakriti is in conjunction with the Purusha. And when there is that conjunction, I am now speaking of Sankhyan philosophy. In that conjunction, you should know that in Sankhya, people usually mix up Vedanta and Sankhya. In Vedanta, when you speak of Purusha or the spirit, you are thinking of the universal spirit. In Sankhya, there is no universal spirit. Every individual has a separate Purusha. It's an individual Purusha. But that individual Purusha is in individual relationship with the Prakriti, and in their conjunction, the Purusha enjoys. Although the Purusha has no action, the Purusha gets bound. And there is this changes. Say this. That's an epistemological difference between this idea of the Sankhyans and the Vedantics. The Vedantin Purusha, if it is considered as the Supreme Self, is never affected. Jiva is under the spell of ignorance, and therefore even when it is affected only in its ignorance, as a man is affected in his dream. In a dream, a man gets a nightmare and he cries, but really he is not affected. It is that kind of an affectation which is spoken of in Vedanta. But then the thing is that all the series of lives are also considered as a long drawn tree, and therefore he had to get this corrected. So here there are little complexities to decide and resolve. Anyway, these three gunas we have to relate to both the Paraprakriti and the Aparaprakriti. To Prakriti, whether it is Para or Apara. And the Purusha here is, now in the next chapter, Purusha is going to be revalued and changed from the status of Purusha to Purushottama. Bhagavad Gita is not going to keep on saying about the Purusha of the Sankhya. So they want to know that the Purusha they speak is different, it's Purushottama. And the usual Purusha and Prakriti which are spoken of are to be treated as belonging to the phenomenal world. And you transcend it, then you come to Purushottama, which is beyond the light of the sun, beyond the light of the moon, beyond the light of every possible light. Because it is not illuminated by anything, it's luminous by itself. And this is making it a little more hard to get over the implication of the three gunas. Yes, Maya is not easy to be resolved according to this chapter. Even though it says if you understand, you resolve, understanding is difficult. So the first thing is even the sattva binds you. Sattva binds you with two things, with knowledge and also with bliss. You find a state blissful, so you don't want to leave it. You find a state giving you a lot of insight into things, and that gives you a qualitative difference from the rest of the community. And so you want to hold on to that situation. And this is a position which is accepted in the Zen Buddhists also, where some Zen masters, when as soon as they see that and they are getting into a peaceful state and become addicted to it, then they leave it. They say, even this is binding. So sattva is as binding as the rest, although it is considered to be one where you have a very clear perception of what is presented to the senses and the mind, and the intellect is not enslaved by your passions, your desires. It has still the power to discriminate between right and wrong, and there are no motivational urges that causes compulsive inhibitions or obsessions, and so it's fairly superior but still belonging to Prakriti. Rajo ragatmagam viddhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tannibadhnadi kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. No, the affective, active modality rajas as being of the nature of attachment, conditioned by thirst for life and the adhering tendency, it binds fast. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, the embodied one by action association. Tamastvajnanam viddhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadarasya nidradistannibhatnadi bharata. But the inner dark modality, tamas, know you, is born of ignorance, deluding all embodied beings. It binds, O Bharata, Arjuna by delusion, lassitude, and somnolence. In discussing the type, Jung calls our attention to a dynamic movement from within us, from the very source of us, so to say, from the very root or the depth of the psyche, that gives a whole bias or a whole tendency to the formation of that personality, where there is an overemphasis or an emphasis on one aspect of your life interest, where you are somewhat pretty sure or where you have a great affinity, and that gives a lopsided growth to the personality, and that lopsidedness decides your type. And this is not something which is happening from outside. And it is here he wants to say, with any amount of training that you give from outside or education that you give from outside, you cannot create a type. Type is from inside. But you can probably tame it, or some of the other deep-rooted tendencies which are not getting attention can be discovered, and you can stimulate, and thus a little more rounded personality can be made, so that it won't be just only of one, it is going developing only one potential. Some of the other minor potentials can also become catalyst potentials of this. And these three gunas which are spoken of here, in which definite tendencies are mentioned. The tendency to be peaceful, not outgoing and fighting and getting into any aggressive situation. And the other is, as soon as you find that something is challenging and provoking, you want to get it with. And say, who is that? Come, let me see, let us see. And say, that challenging mentality is there. And the third is to flee. Run away from the situation. The first one says, okay, I have no quarrel, no fight. Who said? Who said? I will see to it. And the third fellow, he hides, he runs away. The three types are taken. Jung takes 4 types, and here we have 3 types. I mean, very basic. And now, what is the relation between the type and the archetype? That could be another question. But this also become a kind of an archetype. When you term a person, he is of a Satvika type, he is of a Rajasa type. And then we have a number of characters in mythology. They are gods who can also be considered as different types. There is a type like Narada, who is always in a state of bhakti, and he sings melody. And Durvasa is another type who so these are all some kind of types developed in Indian literature. But when we come to these 3 gunas, the triple gunas, in Vyasa Bhashya of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, he mentions how when Sattva Guna predominates and it has for its aid the Rajoguna, that Rajoguna does not become a disqualification for the yogi. It gives him the incentive and the dynamic for action, and thus if he knows that he has these gunas within him and how to handle it, the gunas become of some aid. Even when you say the triple aspects on seeing a thing, such prakya, pravarti, and sthiti. Sthiti belongs to tamas because only tamas can stabilize a thing, freeze it into a position, hold it together, bind it, etc. So everything about it is not wrong. There are some good aspects without which why should there be that in Prakriti? So the Prakriti, if things are to be what they are and to be held together, tamas should be there. Only when it becomes over, it's so superior to the other, your type is changed into something else. सत्वं सुखे संजयति रजकर्मणि भारत ज्ञानमावृत्य दुत्तमः प्रमादे संजयत्युदा. The pure clear modality is sattva, conduces to pleasure, and the affective active modality rajas to action, O Bharata Arjuna, while the inner dark modality is tamas, shrouding wisdom, conduces to delusion. So these three categories are given three definite fronts. One is where there is satoguna, there is sukha. Where there is rajoguna, there is karma. Where there is tamoguna, there is pramada. And now coming to this sukha again, there is moda and pramoda and sukha and ananda, where sukha is considered as the heart, and moda and pramoda are considered as the right hand and the left hand. So there's pleasurable situations, and there are things which are, say, good. When you are engaged in something good, that keeps you rejoiced. And when you make it more exciting by tickling also the pleasures, it becomes specifically pleasing. But there is a neutrality into which this hurt, that is called the sukha. So the experience of happiness, which is always promoting your life from doing one good and then passing on to the next and to the next and to the next. The sukha has a monitoring function. It stands in front and that marks the goal. Whereas ananda is called brahmapuchha, that is the tail end. And at the tail end, where you are supported all the time, which is not a pleasurable feeling, but it safeguards your existence, the sat in you, the truthful aspect in you is preserved by ananda. And that is not the case with the two other things, moda and pramoda. And so you have to see a scheme here. And sattva being satya, it stabilizes you, even though you cannot turn behind and see Brahman or the Supreme behind you. There is a polarization between the ananda and sukha, which is a verticalization of your life. and that verticalization is held intact by sattva. But when you come to rajas, the aspects of mind to go from one to another, because the stream of consciousness is said to have the quality of kshipta and vikshipta. So you have this tendency to move. Each charge comes and then it gets dissipated. And the next charge comes, the actualization is also coupled with dissipation. And so there is always the need to be recharged and then again exploded, and recharged and again exploded. So that is the rajas aspect. And in tamas, you become just confused. You mistake the very purpose of life. And thus a general characteristic of the three gunas are given. Rajastamacchābhibhūya sattvam bhavati bharata rajasattvam tamacchaiva tamasattvam rajastatha. Now the pure clear modality sattva dominates, overpowering the affective active rajas, and the inner dark tamas and the affective active rajas for the pure clear sattva, and the inner dark tamas, likewise the inner dark tamas for the pure clear sattva and the affective active rajas, O Bharata, Arjuna. So these three things given can be changed, this thing. This can be up, or the other can be up, like that. So the three gunas can be rotated. Like that. And now when you put it like that, the rajas is up, and the sattva topples. And when you then the tamas is up, and the other two topple. The example which can be easily shown is a traffic light in modern days, where there is a green, a yellow, and a red. You don't see all the three burning at the same time, and one is there, the other two are not there. सर्वद्वारेषु देहेऽस्मिन् प्रकाशो उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तदा विद्यादिवर्थं सत्त्वमित्युदा. When light, which is wisdom, streams forth from all the dots of the body, then it may be understood that the pure clear modality sattva is predominant. So we can find it for ourselves. So this is one of the Gita's methodology for self-study and self-discovery, self-analysis. One can look into one's own life and see how much of serenity is there, and how there is a progressive move from one state of happiness to another state of happiness. And if a person feels that today was better than yesterday, or as good as yesterday, tomorrow it will be much better or even as good as today, then he is on a stable ground, and there is this sattva which is predominant in that person. लोभः प्रवृत्तिरारम्भः कर्मणाशमः स्पृहः रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ. When the affective active modality rajas dominates, there arises greed, activity, initiation of works, impatience, and covetousness, or best of Bharatas. Even when a person begins with something spiritual, then Rajas is waiting there to catch you. Say, oh, you have already started a good ashram, it is very fine, it's working very well. Why not you start another one in another place? And so start big collection campaign. And then every day look at how much money you have collected. And then there comes a personal pride. You say, I put that building there and I put this building there. I sometimes used to visit a Swami and who was very much interested in enlarging his institution, and he adopts all kinds of methods to collect money, both good as well as bad means. And each time I go there, he says, oh, come on, Swamiji. But he's a happy man. Come on, Swamiji. Let us go and see the new construction which is going on there. And this year, I collected so much dollars. He will give me the whole account, how much the one man gave and how much he got from another man, and what difficulty he had to extract from a miserly person so much amount, and what tricks he used to get that money. And this was going on and on. For over 12 years I was listening to his accounting of this money. He never told me a word about Gita, a word about his guru, a word about anything philosophical, but this was his philosophy. How it was not for his personal gain, that I should admit, it was for good causes. But how Rajas can come and catch us? And even when he was dying, he was in the hospital, I went, and only few more days for him to live. And he was telling how the doors of the last house could not be fitted at time. You should do something, and we should all help in getting it done. So karma waits there for you. When the affective active modality dominates, there arises greed, activity, initiation of works, impatience, and covetousness, or best of Bharata. Aprakasho apravarticha pramado mohevacha tamasidhani jayante vivrthe kurunandana. When the inner dark modality, tamas, dominates, dullness, lack of initiative, delusion, infatuation arise, or joy of the Kurus. So suppose another Swami is sitting and meditating, and he does not go into troubles, can we say that he is a very swatik person? No. He can be the laziest fellow, dull-headed. And because he is not going and asking money to someone, don't think that he is now living a very virtuous life. He can be a symbol of tamas. So it's not very easy to diagnose these things. Yada sattve pravurthetu pralayam yadi dehavr tadottama vidam logan amalan pradivadyade. If the body bearer goes to dissolution, when the pure clear modality sattva dominates, when it attains to the pure worlds of those who understand the best values, rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tatha pralinattamasi mudhayo nishu jayate. Meeting with a delusion, when the affective active modality rajas dominates, he is born among those attached to action, And likewise, if dissolved in a state of inner dark modality, tamas, he is born in the wombs of the foolish. So it is here that the major problem arises. And about the living situation was given. Now when you die, they are not speaking of the kind of death, but what comes after death. And if Buddha is born as Buddha, because of his tendencies of the previous life, then Andy is born as Andy in the United States because of his previous karma connected with his gunas. And then the question comes, so if that is the case, why call for social justice and social equality? Everybody will be born according to their karma, and if a man has to suffer, he will be born in the ghetto, and if a man has to live a good life, he will be born in Carter's family or Ford's family or some such family. So there is no socialism needed then there is all the theories which you give, sociology and politics become different. Is it true? And then the millions of untouchables who are held away at the outskirts of the village in India, should they be all be considered as people who are born of unclean womb because of their past karma, and so they deserve it? When we give them a better deal with better education and better food and better life situation, we see them becoming bright and they change. So does it mean that now the sattva, rajas, tamas can be altered by changing the social situations? Maybe. And if sattva, rajas, tamas are not only of a prenatal condition of a previous birth, but they can be changed in this very world by making the undernourished boy a little more nourished, the uneducated boy given a situation to become literate and study, and if better examples are given to them, better encouragements are given to them, will they not change their guna? That's a question. Otherwise, this book can be used against all progress. Somebody can say, look, Bhagavad Gita says, you are born like that because of your previous karma, so you remain there. When we went to Badrinath last time, previously in India, a boy born in a Brahmana family, we will consider him, it was because of very virtuous actions of his previous birth that he is born as a Brahmana. But we saw the most miserable Brahmanas frequenting Badrinath and Gangotri, all these places, and they pester you like flies. There is nothing to eat, no money to go to schools. They are born in such poor families. What is the use in saying that a Brahmana born in the banks of Ganges? That was considered previously the greatest thing that can happen to a human being, to be born on the banks of Ganges in a Brahmana family. But in the present day India, it is not so. To be born in Bombay or Calcutta or Madras as the son of a jute merchant or a black marketer has better possibilities. So where do we place our sociology here? That's a question. Karmanaga sugridasya hu swatikam nirmalam bhalam Rajasastha phalam dukkham ajnanam tamasa phalam. The benefit of good action is said to be pure, clear, and pure, while the benefit of the affective active modality is pain, and ignorance the benefit of the inner dark modality. Now we can think of these as fixed qualities and also as fluctuating qualities. A person at one moment may be very sattvic, and we see the same person becoming a rajasic after some time. At another time or place, he may look very confused, and so sattva, rajas, and tamas need not necessarily be fixed states, just as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras are also not fixed states. The same person can be Brahmana for a little while, Kshatriya another time, and Vaishya and Shudra all in one, or a Chandala. So we have to treat this more as a, instead of a static, more dynamic principles. Sattvat samjayate jnanam rajaso lobha eva cha pramada moha tamaso bhavado jnanameva cha. Again, it is repeated. From the pure clear modality sattva arises wisdom, as also from the affective active modality rajas greed, and both delusion and infatuation, and also ignorance from the inner dark modality. Urdham gacchandi sattvastha madhye tishtandi rajasaha yaghanya gunavrittistha adho gacchandi tamasaha. Those who are going in an ascending vertical direction, those who fall downward, and some in a horizontalized state in the middle. They are the sattvas, the rajas, and the tamas. When we look at progress of a person, nanyam gunebhyah kartaram yada drishtanupashyati gunabhyascha param vetti madbhavam sodhigacchati. When the seer beholds no other agent than the modalities of nature and knows that which lies beyond the modalities, he attains my state of being. So this is one silver lining of the cloud, that when the seer, he can transcend this and sees the nature of the Absolute, irrespective of the fact, whatever type to which you seem to belong here, you can still go beyond. Gunani danadityatrīn dehi deha samudbhavan janma mrityu jara dukhair vimukto amritamasnude. The embodied, having transcended these three modalities of nature, originating in the body, is freed from sufferings of birth, death, and old age, and enjoys immortality. Now here Arjuna puts a question. Kairlingai strin gunaneda adido bhavadi prabho kimajaraha kadham jaidam strin gunan adivartade. Arjuna asked about the sthita prajna that was given in the second chapter. Afterwards, we have seen in the state of a person who is a yoga rudha, one who is established in yoga. We have seen how it is for a person who is a karma yogi. Also we have seen who a true bhakta is, and whether it is sthita prajna or karma yogi or yoga rudha or bhakta, they all seem to share the same qualities of the yogi. And here, in answer to Arjuna's question, Krishna is giving here in the next four verses the nature of the gunadita. Prakashanja pravartincha mohameva cha pandava nadveshti sampravartani nanvartani kamshadi. Now the situation for the three gunas are there, such as prakasha is there, pravarti is there, moha is also there. But this person is not reacting in favor of one and adverse to the other. Even when action is to be done, he does not resent it, saying it belongs to Rajas. Even though there is a state of confusion, he has patience to withstand it and allow it to pass. And so that is how he becomes a gunadita. Udasena vadaseno gunairyo na vichalyate gunavartanda ittiva yovadisthati nengade samadukha sukha swastaha samaloshtasmakanchanaha tulya priya priyo dhira tulya nindatma samstudihi manavamanayostulya tulya mitrahari bhakshayo sarvarambha varityagi gunadita sauchyade. Here we hear the same qualities that were described many times before, such as sukha dukkha, sama dukkha sukha sasta, samaloshtasma kanchana, tulya priya priya, manava manayos tulya, tulya mitra aribhakshaya, sarva arambhya parityagi. These were all given previously also in describing the yogi, in describing the bhakta. He who is seated as a neutral is not moved by the modalities of nature, who thinking that the modalities of nature operate in rotation, who standing apart is unmoved, the same in pain and pleasure, at rest in himself, to whom a clod of earth and a stone and gold are alike, firm in attitude alike, to loved and unloved, who regards his being blamed or praised equally, the same in honor and disgrace, taking no sides as between friends or foes, abandoning all initiation of work, he is said to have transcended the modalities of nature. Brahmano hi pratishthaham amritasya vayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya gandhigasya cha. He also serves me with a yoga of devotion, never deviating from the proper path, transcending these modalities of nature. He is considered fit for becoming the Absolute. So the idea of the bhakta is once again brought here, and bhakti is given a central position here as the way to transcend. If the Vedantinis ask how bhakti helps in this case, you would say Swasarupa Anusandhanam is bhakti, or Atma Anusandhanam is bhakti, and knowing that this physical body, mind, intellect, these are belonging to the Jagat, belonging to nature, he goes into his Swarupa, which is Satchidananda, and therefore he will be able to transcend the triple gunas. ब्रह्मणो हि प्रतिष्ठाहम् अमृतस्य वयस्य च शाश्वतस्य च धर्मस्य सुखसैकान्तिकस्य च. For I am the basis of the absolute and the unexpended nectar of immortality and the eternal way of right conduct and of lonely final happiness. Thus we come to the close of the 14th chapter. The next one is Purushottama Yoga, the 15th chapter. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.